out my mind.
Somebody in a parachute has just landed on the edge of the ring. Holyfield bit by a dirty Mike Tyson.
Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the award-winning combat sports podcast, The Boxing Show. With me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, joined by the usual twosome, Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke. We will be looking ahead to this weekend's Riyadh season show from Wembley Stadium. Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois, plus a host of other interesting fights on the undercard. We're excited, chaps. What's the excitement level like ahead of a big show this weekend at Wembley?
Yeah, really
high.
Yeah,
High, even for early in the week.
Look at Barry's excited face as well. Look at this. There he goes.
I am. These weeks are good, aren't they?
They're great. They're great. I do think this is one of those ones where, you know, we're back in the UK, Wembley, two British fighters. I think it will just really, really build by the day. Everybody's going to ramp it up and promote the bollocks off it. And I think by the weekend, it's going to be really big.
See, I find them like, so the grand arrival's pointless, but they're good fun. And then, so a lot of things are pointless. It's just to drag it out. All these fighters got to do all this shit. I feel sorry for them. But you get sort of Thursday, you think, oh, this is enough now. And then at the weigh-in, then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
So it change, you know, you think
You
Thursday,
get those two peaks, don't you, almost?
They need a day off, they do, actually.
I think it's quite often when also you get the weigh-in, it's when you get the public, when the public are involved and they're seeing everything for the first time.
Yeah.
You've been there for 4 or 5 days, you kind of become accustomed to everything by that point.
Yeah, I think we'll get that at the open workouts on Wednesday because they'll be open to the public. You know, that's Wembley Arena, so I think there'll be
and a couple of fights.
Yeah, and a couple of fights.
We're working
We're
together,
combining for that.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think then you'll get a sense of how big this is, and then the press conference will be different because that'll be kind of closed off, I'd imagine, just media, and then you'll go to the weigh-in and it'll be the same thing again. So you get this kind of, you know, wave forming during the week and 96,000 on the night, and the weather's supposed to be good this week. I know you can never predict too accurately, but I've looked at the weather forecast and it looks like it's going to be kind of low 20s, very little rain around all week, which matters because I remember Joshua Povetkin, it was still tremendous, you know, it was full and all the rest of it, but it rained and it does just take the edge off it slightly, to be honest.
Fury Chisora outside in December in Tottenham. I'm not a huge fan of the old
Yeah,
stadium
I didn't
fights,
mind
I have
that.
to say.
I thought that all went off really, really well.
Really cold.
Remember Hutchinson in
They lashed it down.
Got hammered down, yeah.
It's horrific. But it gets cold as well. So it was 10 years since Frampton beat Kiko Martinez, wasn't it? I've seen everywhere.
That looked freezing.
That was freezing, that was. Right, we were right in the sea. I mean, literally, it was ice cold. Like, they had to get, for the people in the truck, the TV truck, we had to borrow their coats. We all ringside with these big coats, all of us. Like, and then Mike Costello was doing BBC Radio at the time, and he's got a coat on. Tony Bellows is guest with a t-shirt on. We're all like this. He gets a t-shirt on.
Klitschko Hay in Hamburg. I went to that, and that was like midsummer in Germany. It was supposed to be really, really hot, and it was freezing cold and pissed it down.
I've done Abu Dhabi shows outside, and it's boiling hot. Once the sun goes in,
it's quite cold,
freezing cold. Like, so yeah. So all I say in these fights is that it's lovely weather, whatever the weather's like. But once you get to like 9-10 o'clock, it gets chilly.
But it's supposed to be dry,
which is good for the fighters.
That's the main thing.
So that's your Joshua versus the weather report for those people who have tuned in.
Bring a coat.
There we go. Bring a coat or not. Suntan lotion or an umbrella.
Wear a vest. Wear a vest. And
there we go. Right. Weather talk aside, let's talk about the card because it is a big, long card this weekend at Wembley Stadium. But there is only one place to start, and that is, of course, Barry, with the main event. Daniel Dubois, the defending IBF heavyweight champion of the world, defends his title against a certain Anthony Joshua. It is the battle of Britain between two big lumps who love to throw big bombs. Are you excited, Barry?
I am, yeah. I really am. Defends his title, he hasn't won, technically. So, let's just say that. Because people saying he's not really a world champion, but he sort of is. Because I still think this is a better win for Joshua than Martin was, Charles Martin. So, Dubois deserves to have that belt, but because the guy he beat for the interim was a good fighter, but still, he had to give it to him, unfortunately. So for him, he won't think of it as defending his belt. He'll think of this is his first world title fight, which it is. So he'll want to go out there like a challenger. So there's a different mindset for him as well. And because he'll feel like Joshua's the champion, because Joshua's the big name and the big draw. And so this is a big step up for Dubois. But, you know, you're talking about a fighter who's in the best form of his career. Proved doctors wrong, it's great, but he's proved to himself that he's not a quitter. And by that I said he did quit twice. That's the truth. But I think he quit because he panics, not because he was hurt. I think he takes a good shot, actually. I think he got a good chin. He panics I think he panics when he's tired, because he's not used to being tired, because he's used to knocking people out. And you saw it. I mean, I know his eye was bad against Joyce, and everyone said on the night there you had the medical professionals telling us his eye socket was crashed, was broken, but nobody knew that. But he was hurt and he panicked, but he was tired as well. And against Usyk, he was just tiredness. He was tired, blew up. But against Miller, when he boxed well and he started to get tired again, he pushed through that wall. And I think that's to yourself. On the other side of that, like they say in marathon, on the other side of that wall is what fitness really is. The recovery from you got to just push through it sometimes. And on the other side, actually, there's a whole new level of fitness for you because that's what you've done all the training for. If you've done all that training, and then you got to get tired to get tired first. You get tired really quick, and he backs away. But you got to get tired. Anyone who played sports like say football, the first 5 minutes are knackered, isn't you? Thinking, what am I knackered for? And then 60 minutes in, you're running around like a lunatic. Because you got to get through that little bit first before you get the pumping. And he's never been used to that. But against Miller, he got through it. And I think that was a real mental edge. And so when he boxed Hrgovic, he knew that he could tough it out. So he knew he had a good chin, but he knew he wouldn't care if he gets tired. He just kept plodding away. And he was getting like target practice for a while for Hrgovic. But he's got a different mindset now. He don't mind getting into the trenches, because he won't panic when he's tired, because he knows now that he can step through that gears and come out the other side with loads of energy. So that makes him a dangerous fighter now. Added with that, with his good jab that he has, the jab is a power shot for him. He never throws it light. And he's got decent footwork, to be fair. No, he's not just this, you think of him being this flat-footed big lump who just walks forward. So I see it as a battle of the jabs, who wins the fight. I mean, I think everyone said that, but actually, I said it first. But I mean, because Joshua never gets out jabbed. Usyk maybe, but in others he never gets out jabbed. Joshua got this lovely rhythm to his work, back and forth, nice little rhythm. Even now, he's not as light-footed as he was when he first turned pro, but he still has a nice little rhythm. And with that, he gets the fluency with his punches. So he punches quicker and faster, because he punches neater down the line than Dubois. So he punches inside his body frame. So he turns into every shot, which makes it a bit more dynamic and faster. So Dubois might be the heavier handed, but Joshua is the more dynamic puncher. So if he gets the rhythm by Joshua, and he can time the jab at Dubois, then Dubois is in mega trouble. Because all he's got, every time he throws that jab, and he really steps into it, if Joshua can go bump at the feet, in and out with the feet, then he got him for the right hand every time. And he doesn't have to do that double jab that he always has to do to get the range, which is great for him. He double jabs, does everything properly. It doesn't matter if he misses with the first, but he makes sure he gets a second jab in, so he knows he can punch right for the target with the right hand, and he turns from the hips, perfect. Joshua actually got really good technique, like real basic but perfect technique. Bam, bam, twist, and he hits you and he knocks you out. You just see the Ngannou fight. I know it was Ngannou, but the way he delivered the combinations was fantastic. But if Dubois can push him back with that jab, especially if he hits him right bang in the face early with that jab, as Joshua's coming in, then he won't knock Joshua out with that. But that panic on Joshua will go right through his body, and then he's in a hard fight. Then he got to dog it out, or he starts dancing round Dubois, which I think is the wrong tactic as well. And then Dubois just bullies him and walks him down and stops him. So I think whoever gets with the rhythm first in their work, and I think it's got to be early in the fight, wins the fight.
Andy, this is a fight that is many, many years in the making. These two go back a long way. Of course, their promotional companies go back a long way. It's kind of years and years ago when Daniel Dubois turned over as a professional with Queensberry and Frank Warren. He was kind of the Joshua Slayer. He'd made a hell of a lot of noise on the circuit for allegedly knocking out Anthony Joshua in sparring or chinning him in the gym or whatever it was, whatever the rumour was at the time. And Frank Warren, invested heavily in this young man who hadn't boxed as a senior, put a lot of stock into him. And of course, he's had his many ups and downs, as has Anthony Joshua. And they've met here. at a time where this is probably, if you're looking at their career trajectory up to this point, the best time for them to meet, certainly from a competitive standpoint. And it's a fascinating fight.
It absolutely is. And I give Dubois more of a chance, I think, than most people I've spoken to since it was made off the back of those two most recent performances, because as Barry was describing, that performance against Miller was absolutely massive for him. It really was. And Miller's not a top-level guy, we all know that. But going into that week, the narrative was, from Frank Warren, this is it. If he can't beat him, then he's not what we've always thought he was. That's basically what he said. They put that pressure on him. And there was a point in that fight where he could have gone under, and he didn't. And he pushed through and he got the stoppage. And there you had something to really build on. And with him, like Barry said, it is all about, and this is true for anybody, I think, do you believe it? Because it's fine to have other people tell you. And he's had a lot of people telling him, putting an arm around him and saying, come on, Daniel, you can do this. You know, that's been the dynamic. Frank's done it for a long time. Martin Bowers did it for a long time. Don Charles is now doing it. But it doesn't mean anything if they don't believe it themselves. And there were loads of questions after Joyce and after Usyk. And then against Hrgovic, he did take too many right hands, but he took them. And he broke his heart. He broke Hrgovic's heart because Hrgovic realised, I can't break this guy. And Hrgovic is not this feather-fisted puncher. You know, he's a proper puncher. He can whack, but he couldn't put Dubois away. And he got on top of him and he overcame him through will, basically, which is something that people didn't think he could do. It's the exact thing that people were questioning. So he has that self-belief now. That by itself is not going to win you a fight. But if you don't have it, you will definitely lose at this kind of level. You'll get demolished if you're going against somebody like Joshua or Hrgovic if you don't really believe that you can walk through a storm, however severe it gets for you. So I love it. I think the way that he outlined it there, Barry, in terms of the tactics, I think is exactly it. I don't see either one of these two looking to take a backward step. Not to say that they're going to fly at each other, but we've got the two biggest punchers in world boxing here because they're heavyweights. Whoever's the heaviest puncher in that division, by definition, is the biggest puncher in world boxing. Wilder hasn't landed a right hand for quite a long time now, so it's no longer him. It was for ages, but it's no longer him. It's one of these two, and that's really what this will come down to. And for them, kind of normal rules don't really apply in that. Generally, to knock somebody out, you need to catch them with one they don't see and that they're not braced for. If either one of them manages to do that, then the other one is done. They're going. It's over. Or deep in a fight, resistance levels are low, you catch someone and they go down. With punches this big, it's not that it doesn't matter if they see it, but they can see it and feel like they're braced for it, but it could still be too much for them. It could still overwhelm them. I'm not really sure what we'll get in terms of a duration. It could be over quick or it could go into the second half, which would be really, really interesting.
And who does that favour?
I think that probably favours Dubois.
I think it favours Dubois.
Yeah.
Barry, just
they've been working on quick hands as well, haven't they, for Dubois? I know Kieran Farrell came in and he's known for his kind of quick pads. He came in for the last fight, and maybe that's something they're looking at with Joshua and feeling like he is, as described, technically a very, very good puncher. You know, his mechanics are great, aren't they? And he's kind of the perfect marriage, I think, of nature in that power's always been there, even when he was raw back in the days, an amateur, but also nurture. They refined it up at GB, and it's been refined by other coaches where, you know, he's got that head start because he's got the natural power, but he's getting every kind of ounce out of it.
Barry, a lot of talk has been about, I mean, we've spoken about it for many years on the show, seemingly since that night in New York with Andy Ruiz, about finding the old Anthony Joshua, quote unquote. It's maybe not the old Anthony Joshua, but a new version of him is kind of the general feeling amongst boxing fans now, from his exploits over the last 12 months or so. Is he the form fighter, or do you think Daniel Dubois is the form fighter? Because, I mean, I've had this conversation with people and kind of playing devil's advocate. You look back at Joshua's kind of last 3 or 4 fights.
Yeah.
And Yeah, are you as impressed by that as what you've seen from Daniel Dubois?
Dubois is the form fighter because he's beat two genuine fighters. You know, one certainly a world-class heavyweight in Hrgovic, and the other guy, Miller, who's a massive limp, who's still dangerous. And
should have beat Andy Ruiz.
And in bad, by the way. Yeah, in bad. You know, I mean, people call him about, yeah, but I'm not sure if Ruiz isn't at that high level anymore either. But still, Miller can fight. And yeah, so he's definitely the form fighter. I think with Joshua, what you've had is a slow improvement. I can get the word out there. You had a slow improvement for me, and then it's acceleration and improvement massively, I think, there. So I think it was, what was it? So we had Pulev, which he was like, the Joshua, trying to be a bit more assertive, but still not really committing to the attacks. Then you have the Franklin fight where he tried to box a lot, but again, he knew he boxed well, didn't do anything that he has to do to be the fearsome heavyweight that we wanted to see. So that was a little bit better, but still not what we wanted to see. Against Helenius, didn't box great, but the finish was important because he committed to an attack for the first time in God knows how long, and really committed to the attack, not just trying to touch him with the jab. And that's what it was with Joshua. It's like that jab for him has got to be a weapon. Not like the same with Dubois and really step in with it, but he's got to bring his feet in with it and believe that, not be, though saying that, he's got to be careful what comes back against Dubois. But no, you've got to throw that jab with conviction, and not, he was always throwing it with the view of what's coming back. Well, that's great if you're a featherweight, but if you're a heavyweight, then you're taking away one of your best weapons. With a heavyweight, that jab is not just a scoring punch, it's a punch that knocks you off balance for the big right hand. See, all those heavyweights in the 80s, they would punch at the shoulders, just keep knocking you off balance, the good ones with a good jab, knock you off balance, square you up or knock you back and then whack you. You know, they all always hitting, looking for the head. So he needs that jab to be a weapon like that for him, and with the fluency with his feet, he used to get that. So against Helenius, he did that for the first time. He stepped in, bam, bam, and then whacked him with the right hand, went up, went down, and went bam. But he believed in himself even for a fleeting second in a fight that he wasn't boxing very good in. And I think that was the switch mentally. Oh, he's done it now. And then he changed trainer as well, and that helped. And Ben Davis has been fantastic. But it wasn't Ngannou. It's weird with Ngannou. How would you judge it? Because he just beat the novice. But he beat the novice, just took who at the time was the best heavyweight on the planet, gave him a really hard fight. So how do you judge it? I'm still confused myself. I don't know how you judge it. He should have. I think stylistically it was a better matchup for Joshua than it was for Fury against Ngannou. But still, it was still a novice. But he poleaxed him because he was confident. So that mental. For him, I think that mental frailty, it was always a big factor for him, and now it's for me. It seems like he's a bit more confident in himself. But Dubois the form fighter for definite. Though I think Josh is going to win, in my opinion. I give my prediction really, but I still think Dubois the form fighter. He is. You have to say that. But Joshua looks as close as he's been to being the destructive force he once was. This is the best he's been since then.
But what Team Dubois will be saying to Dubois is, that's great, but nobody during that rebuild has really put it on him. And what happens then? Will that bit of panic still be there? That was evident in the second Ruiz fight. I wouldn't say... Well, there were periods where Ruiz did manage to get his 20 stone close enough to him, and you could see that Joshua was a bit apprehensive with it. And since then, you know, he's been in with fighters who he was supposed to beat outside of... outside of Usyk, obviously. It's just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating because they'll be saying to him, look, he knew all about Otto Wallin. He pulled the trigger against Helenius, and I agree that was a big moment for him.
I forgot about Wallin.
That was the switch. But they'll be saying to him, listen, he knew Otto Wallin inside out. They'd done loads of sparring. Wallin didn't really turn up on the night. He beat him up slowly, you know, big whoop. And then he's taken out Francis Ngannou, who was never what Tyson Fury said he was. Fury just said all of that after the fight because what else could he say? Because he was embarrassed about what happened. We know what will happen when somebody really takes it to him again, and really gives it to him. We know what will happen. You know, it's still in there. That's what they'll tell him.
And and much the same as people say, you know, people have questioned wrongly, I believe, both fighters over the years and their heart and their stomach, all of that good stuff. That will still be part of the Daniel Dubois thinking when I hit you with that left hook. And one thing's for sure, I mean, this is we'll obviously save it for kind of prediction time, but the two attributes, as far as I see it, that Daniel Dubois has in his favour is punching power and finishing instinct. When he gets you going, you're going. Ask Kevin Lorena. Doesn't matter if he had one leg and he'd been down, 2 or 3 times before, he can get rid of you. And he'll be thinking, and they'll be banking in that Dubois camp of, once we get Joshua backing up, and if he stiffens up against us,
Dubois is the kind of guy, isn't he, where Joshua's kind of the same, I guess, where the last thing you want them to be doing is overthinking it, particularly Dubois. And if those kind of demons, though, that self-doubt is gone and he's not overthinking anything, then that's where he's at his most dangerous. And I think both of them kind of understand. I think, to box in the first place, I think everybody understands this, but to really accept it is a big, big thing. I think they just both accept the fact that to put the other guy away, you need to hold your feet for that split second longer. In doing that, you could get cleaned out yourself. It could happen. But you just have to accept that. That's the roll of the dice, and it is a roll of the dice, particularly at heavyweight. But if you want to win, then you've got to take that chance. And I feel like they're both in that kind of place now. We haven't, I wouldn't say we haven't seen it from Joshua, because he has held his feet and he's stayed on the punch longer and he's committed to it. Not that much has come back from Wallin and obviously from Ngannou, but I just feel like mentally he's happy to go there because that's where you need to go.
Barry, how significant is it, or obviously could it prove to be? We obviously know the potential outcome if it is significant, but the fact that Joshua is facing somebody who can really punch. It's been a while since AJ's been in with somebody. Okay, Ngannou can punch to it, but put that to one side. A boxer who can really punch. There is an argument to say that this is the hardest puncher Anthony Joshua has boxed as a professional.
Yeah, it is. So there's loads of things in there. That's why it's important for him to see. I think the occasion helps Joshua where it is Wembley Stadium, not because it's Wembley, it's his home, but this is the Canelo effect. It's a Joshua night, isn't it? There's not no bones about it. This is an anti-Joshua night. This is what all the tickets are sold on the back of him mainly. I mean, not Dubois is playing his part. I'm not trying to belittle him, but I mean, Joshua's always sold out stadiums, and he's doing it again, and they're selling the stadium on the back of his name mainly, and maybe this back of his frailty as well. But he'll be used to this attention. He'll be used to this pressure. Now, Dubois had a bit of a taste of it, which has helped him. The Riyadh seasons, and he'd been in Saudi, and he's had something like that. But this is different because it's all about them. And also, when you get in that ring walk and in the ring, and what's going to happen there, all that. I'm still not sure how the mental toughness of Dubois still. And you just think Joshua will be more at home with that pressure than him. And we say this all the time, don't we, about some at high level sports, coping with the pressure is quite often the difference.
See, I would agree with that, but we saw Daniel Dubois walk into 40,000 screaming Ukrainians and Polish, and and I thought performed very well. I think we all agreed that Usyk was always in control of the fight, and there was no controversy around the low blow.
This is bigger again, though. I do understand that. It wasn't sold out. It was really. I was there ringside. It was a busy stadium. But these are different fans. Presuming they're all for Joshua. Yeah. I'm just presuming that. But it's the whole event's bigger. You've had tastes of it, but this is as big as it gets for him. This is as big as it gets. They'll take away Canelo. It's just the truth of it. So it's that. Ultimately, it's what you do in the ring. But if you cope with the pressure of that, then it's just how he asserts himself. He has to be, and they both have to take dominance as quick as they can. But for Dubois, it's quite important because you want to put panic in Joshua, like you're sort of alluding to there. Put panic on him really early. Bam! Right in the face with that jab. If you get him with that jab, first of all, whack him really hard with that jab. And he'll make him, even don't have to knock him out, just make him think, oof. You're making him start to second guess himself and do it again quite quickly as well after that. He might very well just fall back into that Ruiz 2 performance. That sort of Joshua. Hang on a minute, safety first. You see, you got to be. It's being a heavyweight. I always slag them off. They got to be overpaid, but if they can throw 1-2 left hook, they're world class. I sort of dig them out all the time, but not the case. Being a little bit pedantic, but they got that. They have to be safe but aggressive. They have to be to win a fight. Unless you add an Usyk, even he has to be safe. But you have to take. There's a risk all the time with them because you can get caught with a cuffing shot and it knocks you out.
Yeah, that's it.
Any shot, no, hit you on the arm, it knocks you over.
Normal rules don't apply, or rules that apply in other divisions where you feel like if you are braced and you do see it, then you can survive it. At heavyweight, it's just, so many different shots can just take it all away from you. I mean, look at what happened to him at Madison Square Garden, a left hook high on the head. It looked like nothing, really. And it just completely scrambled.
And also, he got caught when he was throwing. By the way, I think that's what affected him after. That's why he was always safety first. You could see him in the fights after. He was thinking every time he threw a shot, he was thinking, like, you should. What comes after? But before, it's not what comes after for me. It's what comes back from them. So you go boom, and he'd move out the way. There was nothing on his punches, and then like people could walk through him and make it a hard night for him. But like, and then he's trying to outbox people because he's learning a new skill. And he's getting better at it, and then he's trying to outbox Usyk. Like when you really got to bully him. He probably outboxes you anyway. I think he just never beats Usyk. But I mean, if you put it on him, that's the only way you can beat someone like that, isn't it? It has to be. And if you have the power and the strength and the athleticism to do that, and the speed, then you do it. But then if you're thinking about, I don't want to get caught with what comes back, because what's happened before when I committed to an attack, I got knocked out or knocked down and then unravelled, then I don't want to do that again. And it's understandable. Your brain gets in the way. So against Dubois, if he gets caught with a big shot, all that comes flooding back possibly. Could you ultimately just revert back to type? Now, what his type was before is changed. His type was before was when he got hurt. Just go back to Dillian White's fight. When he got hurt, his first instinct was just a fire, like you do in the street. Big guys do in the street because they know they have the power. So if they get hurt, they just fire like lunatics, and just because they know if they catch you, you're done. And if they don't, they're done. But if they don't. If they don't fire back, they're done anyway. If they fire back, they might get knocked out, but they got to do it because they got the power. And so he dined out, he banked on that, he bet on that if I catch you, you're done. And then he went to another stage, I just got to be cautious here, don't take a shot, that's clever, but unless you're beautifully skilled like Usyk, that's not going to work for you, or you're not going to be crowd pleasing, or you're going to get beat by somebody. And now he's sort of going back to what he was, with a bit more thought with it, but not letting his brain get in the way, I think. I think that he's with the right people to help him there. I think with Joshua, he wants all the information, so I think, having people that he has in his camp, like Ben Davis and Lee Wiley and them, I think they have the information. They seep it to him. I think that's what you have to do to him. If they give him bits of it, so he has all the information, but not all at once. And maybe you don't give it all to him. You just like feed him to little bits, so he's happy. He understands what's going on, but his brain's not clouded with too many thoughts, and that can get in your way. Because having all the information is great, but knowing how to use it and transmit it in a natural reaction, that's great fighters, like the weights, know to react at the right times. They have all the information, they just put it in the right place at the right time. And the great fighters do that. And it looks like a risk, but they know that risk is they've worked it out in milliseconds. Or they're just or it's just a luck. I don't know, but I mean, you can't be lucky all the time, can you? And with him, I think he had too much information, was trying to box too much, trying to be too clever. Now I think they switched a bit of his brain off and he looks more destructive. So he needs to start fast as well. They both need to start fast, but with a caution, not getting caught. So that's why I like Joshua, because I think he's got better feet and better rhythm to his work, and he can step in up with a jab better than Dubois. I think that's what I feel. And also he's a bit taller, so he can punch over. He might be able to punch over the jab in it.
Hrgovic had a lot of success as well.
Yeah, but the thing with Hrgovic is heavy-handed, but he's slow. Not slow, but he's way slower than Joshua. Joshua's, I think, doesn't bring the elbow out. He punches right through the frame, and there's more acceleration in his punches, so he can have more of an effect on Dubois. Dubois got a good chin. He's shown that, and I never questioned his chin even when he was like taking knees. But I think if you hit him with a shot, that might bring the panic back for him. So this might be down to mental states for both of them. You want to remind them of the worst times of their career. Remember when you
it's that shock factor.
This is the definition of a heavyweight shootout.
It really is.
This is a shootout. This is who's going to draw first and who's going to get off first. I think that's kind of
and they both have to be. I'm repeating myself, but they both have to be okay with that. And if you're not okay with it, then you will lose, because you have to accept the fact that to give yourself the best possible chance of winning, you are opening the door to you losing. But that's just how it is.
And I think in his last 3 fights, Daniel Dubois has been faced with that reality in some way, shape, or form. Against Usyk, obviously very different. Against Miller, who is probably in a way, the least significant fight out of those three, but in a way, the most significant fight out of those three. Because if he loses that, it's over.
Yeah.
It's all over after that. I mean, okay, people say, yeah, he could come back in the future. For this moment at the top level, it's over. And he's had to face his kind of the abyss, really, in his last three fights.
Yeah, I do. You know, something else that, you know, I've always believed, which quite a lot of people in boxing would disagree with, is that I do feel like you can sort of improve your bravery, or you could teach bravery if you're a trainer, or whether you do want to describe it as bravery or self-belief or whatever it is. And obviously after he sat it out against Joyce, people were going to question that. I think it's understandable why he made that decision, but then fighters would say, but never mind it being understandable, you just can't ever do it. And if you do it once, then you'll do it again. And then against Usyk, he sat it out again, but I saw signs of improvement there, because he nearly did it the round before and he didn't, and then Don bollocked him in the corner, and then he did do it the next round. But that was kind of, I felt that was progress, and you know, that is the kind of thing that a non-boxer who's never been in there would say. But I've always thought that you can improve that, you can teach it, that to get to that kind of level, that bravery is in there. But with some people, you just need to find it. You need to mine down and find that seam, basically, because it is there. With some people, it's just right at the surface, you know, right from day one. With other people, not so much. With some, maybe you never find it, but I just saw signs of improvement on that score.
Everyone's brave. Again, it is a bit, you have to dip your water in. If you dip your toe in, sorry, you have to dip. You have to like taste a little bit of adversity, whatever it is in life, innit? But certainly in the ring, a little bit of being in a war or a hard fight. Heavyweights is hard for them because most of their careers, amateur and pro, they don't have wars. They're just knocking people out, or they're boring jab fest and hugs, isn't they? They don't have the fights that smaller fighters have, so you don't get to find out if they're tough or if they have a good engine. They don't. It's not all of them, but I mean, you know, the majority of heavyweights don't find that out, especially the good ones, because they're just knocking people out all the time or schooling them with their jabs. So I think if you're saying they're working on speed with Dubois, then that might be that he's going to punch with Joshua. So they say, I can't beat him for rhythm. So once he goes bump with the first jab, once he throws the second one, just throw a right hand. Maybe they're just risking that. You're heavier handed than him, which I think he is. I think Joshua might be the more dynamic puncher, but he's heavier handed, and you just go, you punch with him. And you catch him coming forward, and he'll, whether you knock him out or not, he'll be done. He'll be frazzled. He'll be a proper panic. And then, as you said, there's a few better finishers than Dubois when he catches you with a good shot. So that might be a tactic. I think he has to be brave in that way to punch with him. But yeah, but I don't know. Joshua's movement, I think, again though, that's the thing with this fight. You got to start fast without making any mistakes.
There's a lot of ways that this can go south for both fighters, which is one of the reasons why a shootout is the perfect way. Because if you get even a slight little bit wrong, and that's why heavyweight division, we're all not the biggest fans of the division overall, but it's why the division is so unique, because it has that jeopardy always in play. But anyway,
you don't have to make a mistake, and that's again, I'm kind of labouring a point, but that's what you have to accept, is that you don't have to make a mistake. You won't, if you lose. It's quite an unpalatable kind of inconvenient truth about the whole thing, which is that you can do absolutely nothing wrong. You can be doing actually everything right. You know, you're looking to try and knock him out, and you commit to the punch, and you set your feet and all of that stuff. And whilst you're doing that, he chins you. It can happen.
You can block a shot. You can block a shot, and he just punch through your guard and knock you out. You've seen that, haven't you?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
It's a hell of a way to make a living.
We do have to try and move on, because we're running out of time. We've had plenty of fights left. One fight that we will touch upon first is Josh Kelly versus his new opponent, of course, Ishmael Davis, after the late withdrawal of Liam Smith. Is this a better fight than the original fight, do you think?
No, I don't think so. It's hard to tell, isn't it? Ishmael Davis looked fantastic, but what weight's it at?
Middleweight.
Yeah.
Josh Kelly's not middleweight.
No, but you've had a chance to bulk up to it, haven't you? I know Ishmael Davis now walking around was
the fight against Smith that I heard both? Was the fight against Smith supposed
middleweight?
Yeah, it was middleweight, wasn't it? I heard people saying super welter, and I think I'm sure it was middleweight.
No, it was middleweight.
Yeah, so you got to favour Kelly massively, haven't you? Because all the pedigree comes with him. Ishmael Davis looked good. I've been ringside of his last couple of fights against Troy Williamson. He was fantastic, but I think Kelly's turned the corner. I do. And I think he'll put on a good performance, and I think I expect him to I think go the distance, and it'd be a hard fight from at times. But I just think you know too much. You have to go. I think you have to go with that. That's quite common sense, isn't it? Ishmael Davis is quite, though he's accelerated quite quick by beating Williamson, which is still arguably Kelly's best win. But the performance of Kelly was fantastic that night. But yeah, the fact that it's going to be at middleweight as well, which just lack of prepared at late notice, you got to give everything points to Kelly winning on points.
He was in the gym. I believe he was supposed to be on one of the Matchroom cards that either
28th maybe.
Yeah.
Sheffield.
So he's been in the gym, and obviously only 154 pounder Josh Kelly, former 147 pounder. So you would hope that, you wouldn't have thought that there's going to be a huge weight disparity between the two of them, and you'd feel like he might be able to add that extra 6 pounds quite healthily. Yeah,
but Davis, he's quite economical with the shots. He punches with weights. He's quite economical. And he's clever coming forward, but I think with someone like Kelly, you got to really make him work hard and question his courage. And I'm not sure whether Davis quite yet has experience to do that. Yet, he might surprise us, but yeah. So I expect Kelly to win on points, and Davis to come away with like Belanga plenty of credit. And
Andy, just kind of touched upon it there. Liam Smith obviously having to withdraw from the fight. Not ideal for him by any stretch of the imagination, particularly when you consider he was a long way from his best against Chris Eubank Jr. But in steps Ishmael Davis, still something of an unknown quantity. Barry mentioned there his win over Troy Williamson, definitely the standout win on his ledger so far. Do you see any which way of him stepping in at the late notice of the 11th hour and upsetting the apple cart against Josh Kelly?
It's definitely not impossible. I think that would need Kelly to regress a little bit and suffer some of those demons that he used to, which I think he is now past. I had a chat with him about it actually just after he sided with Wasserman about how he'd been to see a psychologist and what they talked about, and he went on the record with all of this too, about how in fight weeks he would basically just work himself into a state of such kind of anxiety about winning and performing well that he would just drain his tank completely, to the point where he would almost make himself ill, and just give himself not much chance of performing at his best, and he needed to find a way of managing that, and he feels like he has, and performances would suggest that he has. So I think Davis will need an off-colour Kelly, but it's just a great opportunity for him, isn't it? We always say this, but he's lined up to fight at the end of October, isn't he?
Yeah,
he was that's Prograis Catterall, isn't he? And that would have originally, as you just said, have been next week. So he would have been aiming for that anyway. So he's kind of he's in shape, and it's a shot to nothing. It's a shot to nothing.
Yeah, but you name me one late notice guy who's gone on to win a fight. It's a massive list like that. That's the great thing about boxing. Sometimes you can just change your whole career trajectory by just doing that. No one gives you any chance to do it, and you go and put on a performance of your life.
It was quite funny, wasn't it, when word had got out that Liam Smith had pulled out the fight? You saw all of managers and everybody.
Lots of people up for it.
It was like a meat market, wasn't it?
Was.
I put my name in the hat, but Josh Kelly didn't fancy a 235-pound catch weight. But anyway, £10 rehydration. Let me know if you want to do it next year. But anyway, we are going to have to rattle through this very interesting fight. I really like that fight. I think Ishmael Davis, for what he lacks in experience in the ring, I think he might make up for somewhat in some areas outside of the ring. It's a very interesting story in the past, and just wonder what happens is if he is fit and if he's up for it and he's still there after 6 or 7 rounds and can kind of make Kelly work. But as you mentioned there, I like Davis because he's a hard man who boxes. Yeah. And I like that about fighters who
good movement.
It's very nice. It's very slows the pace down really well. But you'd feel like he has to be the one who really puts it on Kelly if he's going to emerge victorious. But credit to him for taking the opportunity for, probably 10 times his career high payday on a week's notice. But well done, congratulations. I mean there was a lot of people vying for that slot, as we saw on social media over the weekend. Up next, Joshua Buatsi against Willie Hutchinson. Andy, going to come to you first. Joshua Buatsi, of course, had that win over Dan Aziz, while Willie Hutchinson, as an underdog on the 5 versus 5, really performed very, very well against Craig Richards and didn't really give Craig Richards much of a sniff at all in that fight. Josh Buatsi, of course, win over Craig Richards himself and goes into this fight as a favourite. But Willie Hutchinson, as he has done in the past, very confident of springing the upset.
Yeah, he's not somebody who lacks in that department. Although having said that, I think for a good while he probably did lack that. I think there was a lot going on outside the ring with him. He got beaten by Clarke, and I think he was wondering whether it was for him. To be honest, there was all sorts, and it was a rough passage for him. And this is a fight that we just never would have imagined happening this time last year. You know, if you suggested this, you would have just shaken your head because you wouldn't possibly see the route to it. But then he got the call for the 5 versus 5, boxed really well against Craig Richards. And if you draw the form line from what each of them did against Craig Richards, then you would make it relatively even. I mean, that's never a perfect way of doing things, but often it's the best that you've got. But I agree that Buatsi is a favourite in this one. But I do think that Hutchinson, again, he's got a real chance. He's got a real chance because he is a skillful fighter. He keeps getting described as Scotland's most decorated ever amateur, which he's not. Dick McTaggart. And you could point at others because, you know, Willie won a gold medal as a world youth, which is fantastic, and he's the only Scottish fighter to ever do that. But if we could just all please stop with that, it would be appreciated. But yeah, that self-confidence that I saw when the first time I met him, which was not long after he'd won that gold medal, and he was sparring everybody and about to turn pro, and he was happy to sit down and tell me and Big Rob McIntosh about how he was going to take over the world. And it was great fun to listen to. That seems to be very much back.
Yes, very much so. And why wouldn't it be, Barry, after, of course, the standout win of his career against Craig Richards? How much better, how much more do you think that will give Willie Hutchinson, knowing that not only could he win that fight, but obviously had to hold it together late on in the fight.
Yeah.
Never done 12 hard rounds before. But yeah, it goes into this fight, again, as a sizable underdog, but full of beans, Willie Hutchinson. It's difficult to know where his ceiling could be after that win over Craig Richards.
It doesn't lack confidence, but the way he acts, not always about the confidence you got yourself in when you actually fight. But I think, you know, that was a good win for him, and he started off fast and he maintained it. And he had the cut runs where he was put himself in positions where maybe a better fighter would have made him pay for it. But he come through, and he kept pushing on. He showed a good engine, and I think I said in commentary, Craig Richards looked old that night. But did he make him look old? You have to say that. You know, was Craig Richards old? No, maybe just looked old on the night, and maybe wasn't the fight he once was, or did, I'd like to say, Willie Hutchinson made him look old, but with his movement and his engine, and he's hard to hit and he's hard to read. But if Buatsi can stick a rocket up his backside, which is all that he's been lacking, because technically he's fantastic. He punches solid with every punch. But there's no like fourth or fifth gear with him. He does everything in third gear. And he's like, I said, this is where I fight. He was a little bit better at times, I thought, against what's his name? Aziz, yeah. I was going to say Azim. I didn't want to say Aziz. Didn't down Aziz. But this fight, he's going to have to just up it a little bit more zest. But like the way I hope the build up, but they've been at each other's throats. You've had hold of him. I hope that puts an injection in not literally an injection, but in Buatsi, it makes him a little bit more fire in his belly, because he seems to lack that. That's all. And if he has that, then it's a hard night for Hutchinson, because as clever as he is, as awkward, as erratic as he is with his movements, he's hard to read. Someone like Buatsi, because his hand side keeps his shape, will just punch right on the line every time. He'll should just forget about all the distractions that he does, all the little quickie movements, just what don't worry about what he's doing. Once he comes into the line, pop him. That's all you got to do. That'll slow him down. But then he needs to accelerate off that, and when he pops him, go boom, 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 and he doesn't quite do that. He goes pop, and he walks pop, and he lacks a little bit of that, Buatsi. And if he boxes at that one even pace that he has throughout his career up to this time, predominantly, then Hutchinson's movement and exuberance in his work might steal him the win. By the way, I'm picking Buatsi, but it might steal him the win, because Buatsi will be, I'm just going to walk him down. I'll do the right things. But that thought process, he was always a safety first fighter anyway. Buatsi, I thought, when he's turn pro. As an amateur, I thought he was going to be a really like the next Holyfield. I thought the way he looked, where he shaped up. But going with what's his name over in San Francisco, Virgil Hunter, it's just going to make you a more thoughtful fighter, which seems the right thing. But for someone like him, I think you needed a trainer who would be a little bit more assertive with your work. You go on Virgil Hunter, and the only fight that I know of him, and that's of course Andre Ward. Andre Ward was naturally tough and all that, but he was always just do enough. He never wanted to push it both unless he had to. When he had to, he showed he had the cojones to do it. But still, Buatsi got that. He needs that extra bit of oomph to rattle off combinations. And I think he punches hard and clean. And maybe down the stretch, you would tend to think that maybe that cleaner better work when Hutchinson gets a little bit tired and frayed. Then if he can up the pace at that point, get some speed in his work at that point, Buatsi, then that would be his opening to maybe get the finish. So,
yeah, there was a couple of moments I think later on in the Craig Richards Willie Hutchinson fight. There was a couple of moments late on in there where Hutchinson just looked like he'd started to slow down a little bit. Obviously, he's not as experienced in doing the rounds, and we all know what happened against Lennox Clarke when he slowed down a little bit. There, yeah, but a different version of him.
The certain thing with Lennox Clarke really quickly though. Like, it was a surprise defeat. I know he was going to be the next superstar, and if the wheels come off. But when he got dropped, he got straight back up. He had a really good go. He got plenty of ball. I would say that about Hutchinson, though. So if he does look at Rat and get hurt, he can get back up and look to fire back. He didn't shy away from Lennox Clarke. He tried to win the fight after getting knocked out.
And showed against Craig Richards that he can still, there was moments where I can't remember if it was the 10th round or something. Craig Richards had landed a good shot that looked like it registered. Yeah. And again, he was, while it may have not been the most well-advised thing at the time, or maybe it would have been, Hutchinson was there, he threw back and fired back and got through that little period of the fight and then won very, very convincingly on the cards. I feel like later on in the fight, I just feel what you said about Craig Richards looking old, I think just didn't look like it. We've spoke about it a few times on this show already today, that injection of pace. And if Buatsi can find that injection of pace in the second half of the fight where Craig Richards couldn't, you would feel like that's where
it's just feeding off your work. Successful. If you land with a shot, you've got to feed off it. If he just does that but not so methodical, then I think he can put on a good performance. If not, Hutchinson's potentially a nightmare.
Okay, we are rattling through this. Up next on the card, we see the first defence of the IBF World Super Featherweight title from Anto Cacace. Takes on Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington, of course, making his Super Featherweight debut. Up in weight and up against it against Anthony Cacace, who, of course, looked so fantastic last time out in knocking out Joe Cordina.
I think you have to make Cacace the favourite because of the performance against Cordina. But Josh Warrington, it's been a bit of a disaster's maybe a too strong word for it, but you look at the way COVID derailed careers, and I don't think anybody suffered from it more than him necessarily, because when that all started, we were talking Vegas, unifications, all sorts, and things haven't gone to plan since then. But it's not like everything has gone wrong. And he was boxing really well against Lee Wood through the first half of that fight. He then got stopped. So it's a comprehensive defeat, because any stoppage is a comprehensive defeat. But in the first half of that fight, he did look really, really good. Whether that stoppage has taken something away from him, or rather that stoppage will have taken something away from him, because it always does. It can't not. It's just a question maybe of how much, but maybe he'll be more robust up at super featherweight. It's not a huge leap in terms of weight, but he's always been at featherweight, hasn't he? So he's been holding that weight for a really long time, and maybe this will give him a bit more robustness, a little bit more energy. Who knows? But I do make Cacace the favourite, but we can't forget what Warrington has done, what Warrington has achieved, because it's a lot, and he's beaten some really good fighters. So I think this is a close fight. I do think this is a close fight. Cacace has been chronically inactive at times, and it had to be his night against Cordina. And the fact that he took that opportunity, I think, said a lot about him. And you like to see it. You never care who wins. You can't care who wins doing what we're doing. But at the same time, when you see somebody and you know that this is it, because he was given a voluntary, this is it. He's in his mid-30s. This chance will not come again. And then they take the opportunity. It's impressive. And he was impressive that night. But I'd say this is maybe kind of a 50-50 fight, to be honest.
Would you agree with that, Barry?
I sort of make Cacace a little bit of a bigger favourite than that, but still, I think he's right. What Andy said there, I didn't listen to him, but I just see he's right. But he usually is. He fucks now. But yeah, we can't forget what Warrington's done. Listen, I wrote Warrington off against Lee Selby. I said that stylistically it was all wrong for him, and I thought Selby would absolutely play with him. And I think I was right in my assessment as well, by the way, for what we've seen from Warrington. I didn't say Warrington didn't deserve a shot, because he'd done everything right to get the world title shot. He deserved to be number one. He deserved it. He worked the hard way. He went right through all the belts he could get to get there. But I just thought, stylistically, and how good Selby was and how clever he was, I just Warrington not a big puncher, though that's been proven not to be the case. Then he just wouldn't beat him, and he just didn't beat Selby. He boxed him at times as well. I was the ringside that night, fearing for my life in Leeds, with my Cardiff top on. But and against Cordina, I was the night before the fight against Cordina, I was with all loads of Cacace fans, some of the guys in his corner. And it was all very respectful. When they kept asking my opinion, I give my honest opinion. I said Cacace's a good fighter, and he'd be a good fight, be entertaining, because he punches hard in his record. We know that. But Joe Cordina, when he's on fire, I can't see how Cacace gets near him. And he's big for the weight, Joe. Too big for the weight it turned out to be. But I mean, couldn't see how he gets near him. And when Cacace, the first shot that hurt Joe Cordina was after the break. And not Cacace's fault. He was throwing the shot. The referee said break. He was already in the motion to throw it. The referee didn't stand in between them. He left it. And I'm not slagging the referee. It's just one of those things. And Joe dropped his hands and he got caught. But everything after that was brilliant. The Joe Cordina showed loads of courage and all the rest of it. But Cacace never missed with a shot, I don't think, after that. For the rest of the rounds. However, it went on way too long than I thought it was going to. But I mean, he didn't have Joe. Just the toughness of Joe Cordina kept him in there for so long, because every punch he hit him in, every punch he threw was a power shot, and he just bam, punch him right through the target all the time. And like, Warrington's is tough, and Warrington fires back, and I think that's where I think Cacace will win, and he might potentially be able to get a stoppage. I think at this weight, I don't think I would probably favour the goes the distance, but I mean the fact that he punches so hard, he punches long, Cacace. That's what he does so well. That's because he's tall for the weight, he's long for the weight with his reach, but he punches long. You got to get on his chest, like with that Magnesi, wasn't it? Like he did against him.
That was a really good fight.
Yeah, it was a good fight, wasn't it? And he showed how well he can cope under pressure, boxing the pressure. But also, Magnesi got it right on him. Now Warrington is one of the best in British boxing to get his head on your chest, or his head anyway. But no, but I mean,
his chest, your eyes,
he does it.
whichever.
Warrington's a naturally dirty fighter. I don't think he does intentional. I don't think he does that. But he's a naturally dirty. Just the way he jumps forward into his attacks, his head comes first, and that's what happens.
I interviewed him probably about a year ago now, and I put it to him. You know, people call you a dirty fighter, and he went, "Do you think I'm a dirty fighter?" And I went, "Well,"
That's a yes, isn't it?
I put a glove.
I said, "Well, it's not a tickling competition, Josh." He's like, "Good answer." There you go.
You're not a dirty fighter, but I put a glove on your forehead. but I mean, it's just because the way he comes forward, he's all in, isn't he?
Yeah, he commits to everything,
and he swoops in so that he comes up with the head, and so that's what happens. Listen, you are what you are, aren't you?
Like you say, it is natural, and no one's claiming he's doing it on purpose. We got another one in Tyler Denny. People who box him would say that he's a dirty fighter, and he would look at you and say, "Sorry, what?" You know, it's just how they do it.
But so I think the move up to super featherweight has been a long time coming for Josh. I think we all agree with that. But I'm not sure. Listen, Cacace's not the youngest, by the way, and
over the years he has a reputation for not looking after himself the best. Albeit he has said that's the thing from the past. But but
he made the weight. He looked well in the weight.
But again, as Andy said, that was his chance. I mean, so something we've spoken about on this show. Countless occasions, where's Cacace mentally after winning that? Is he, I've won the world title, yes, now I'm going to do this, or he never thought he was going to win a world title, he's won the world title, as he, you don't know really.
I think it's the latter with him, to be honest, because I think he was funny. His post-fight interview was great, wasn't it? Because he generously kind of declared that he is now totally fine with only ever boxing on Saudi cards again. He made it known to Turki Al Sheikh, wasn't he, that he was prepared to do him that favour.
Oh, go on, man.
But he got given a voluntary by Cordina. It came from nowhere. The original date was postponed, and then you're worried. I mean, is it going to end up on the rescheduled card? No particular reason ever to think that it wouldn't, but you then start to worry about that, and then it does happen, and you take your chance. And I think he mentally, I think he'll be in the right place. I don't think he'll check out. I think he'll feel, I've won the lottery to an extent. I've got to cash that ticket in for its full value, and that means keeping on winning for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And Cacace can move as well. And we see him against because he was the aggressor, but people haven't seen him. He can move. And boxing, he predominantly is a boxer. So it'll help both of them, actually, because Josh one likes to come forward, charge forward. I just feel because Cacace punches so long, and every shot is hard with him, those uppercuts coming through the middle, it might be a recipe, the right recipe for him, and the worst one for Warrington.
It's interesting. You got Carl Frampton said that Josh Warrington was the hardest he's been hit in the ring, and Cacace was the hardest he's ever been hit in sparring.
Yeah.
So you've got two guys who punch harder than their record suggests. I mean, people have been talking about Cacace's punching power through the kind of circuit for a long time.
Yeah, I remember when he first turned pro, like some of those fights were on Box Nation, they were going to beat this massive puncher, and you go, yeah, he looked. The thing is, every shot's solid with him because he just got to get you on the end of the shot with him. That's the difference. So Josh needs to stunt his work. See, Josh, I don't think Josh is a massive puncher. He punches his weight, but the thing with Frampton, they were both swinging, so he puts everything into it. But with Cacace, he can punch from further out. That's the difference. He gets more range in his shots. They whip in as well, so they're longer, and that makes it harder for Josh to get close.
I also remember speaking to Frampton a few years ago about that very thing when he was talking about Warrington. I sort of said, well, it's maybe something that's covered in the knockout. Do you reckon he was the hardest puncher you've ever fought, or was it just you were at the stage of your career where maybe you were feeling the shots a little bit more than you were at Super Bantam and earlier on in his career? And he went, yeah, maybe. But anyway, really good fight and a really good stylistic matchup.
That might be the best fight of the night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, as is the next one, the middleweight offering this Saturday. Andy, going to come to you first. Hamza Sheeraz against the Cinderella man of British boxing, or certainly one of them in recent years, Tyler Denny. In a fight that, I mean, we discussed the middleweight division on yesterday, or part one, or whatever you want to call its podcast, after the win for Arislandi Lara. The winner of this fight is pretty much there or thereabouts for a world title shot.
Yeah, you think so. And it's funny, this one, because people look at it and they'll almost naturally describe it as Sheeraz versus Denny, and I understand why, for the same reason that people would probably say AJ versus Dubois, but actually it's the other way around, because Tyler Denny's the European champion, and that's a significant belt. And the defence against Felix Cash was a big win, out of the away corner on a Matchroom card, and it was the very next day after that he got the call to head down to London on the Monday for the press conference. And I remember seeing him at Errol Johnson as I walked in, and it was just a great example of what can happen now. He won that fight, and all of a sudden, there he is. And he had this big grin on his face. But he's not going to be happy to be there. He will absolutely believe he can win this fight, and correctly so, because he's got a lot of experience. He's a good fighter. He's an organised fighter. He knows exactly what he is. And he will look at Sheeraz and feel, okay, you beat Williams. Well done for that. That was a good win, and it was a good win. But let's see how you handle me. I like it. I like this fight a lot. I think Sheeraz is for some people, quite a heavy favourite, and he really hasn't done too much wrong, particularly in recent times. I think the move to America has worked for him, but he's up against somebody with an awful lot of boxing experience inside and outside of the ring. Lots of things have happened to Denny. He's had to really stick at it. And now he's here. He's not going to be giving anything up lightly.
Barry, Hamza Sheeraz, as Andy mentioned there, has really gone from strength to strength in recent outings, in particular since that move over to the USA with Ricky Funes. On the verge of a world title shot himself. Tyler Denny, one of our favourites on here, I think it's fair to say, over recent times. Has kind of fought everyone there is to fight around that English-British sort of level, and is now, of course, a European champion. Do you give him a chance of upsetting the apple cart against Hamza Sheeraz? I
do. I favour Sheeraz, but I do give him a chance, yeah, because he has. You watch, if you're training a fight, if you've got a good boxer, and you're looking at Tyler Denny, you're going, you can train to beat him. You got to look at the mistakes he makes. He almost got the footwork of Nigel Benn, but it's like his feet come in like this, and knees sort of come in. It looks like they got no balance, but they have. And he swings the punches, but that's sort of like wrong. But that puts him in a position to throw another shot. You know, it's like one of those sort of fighters. But so you think I can outbox him quite comfortable. But what he does, and I don't quite know how he does it, he draws you into his fight within a round and a half. He does it really quickly. Draws you into his fight. You see against. I thought I fancied him against Felix Cash quite big, and but everything would point to Cash beating him because he's so technically so good, Cash. But I just thought he could draw Cash into the fight, and he did. He draws him into your fight, and you're fighting on his terms. And what that does is that drains your energy because you're not because you need to box at the nice rhythm you're used to, and if someone takes you into their rhythm, you're fighting against them. It's like running against someone who runs slower than you. You got to slow down. It knackers you. Not always the fastest person who tires you out. So if someone can slow you down, it knackers you out. And he sort of does that. Drags you right into his fight early, and then you have to dog it out with him. But that's where he's not a. Thank God he's not a big puncher for his opponents, because otherwise he'd all be half of those people we're talking about. Those good fight, they'll be asleep now still. Because he knackers you out and he could knock you out, but he lacks that power. But he has physical strength. I mean, I think he's massively strong, and he's tough. But I think with Sheeraz, what we've seen with Sheeraz is the composure and the patience of a world-class fighter. I thought he would beat Ammo. I said he'd stop Ammo, so I got that one right. Just didn't do a show on it, did he? But the way he did it was so easy. Because he just doesn't rush it, because he's massive for the weight, and he uses that to his advantage, and he walks you onto his shots. And I think he'll keep his shape against Tyler Denny. And I think this, unfortunately, it's been a great journey for Tyler Denny. I think this is where the wheels come off. I think, which is nothing wrong with that. It's a great level he's boxed at, and he might carry on to have success after this. But I just think this is where it comes off. I think Sheeraz doesn't give him anything. I think because he's so big as well, and the jab's so good for Sheeraz, I think it's hard for Denny to drag him into his fight, because the jab's good and the uppercut's brilliant. And so the things shut up. So when you throw the jab, Denny want to work off that, to come in and swoop in and swing over the top, because he is boxing a guy who's so big. And what we've seen with Sheeraz, he take that little step back. And if that uppercut don't hit you, that uppercut stops you from coming forward. And without getting that impetus and momentum to come forward, Tyler Denny can't beat you. And I think that's where you keep him. And other fighters have tried it, they haven't got the strength. And also, by the way, I think he's strong, Sheeraz. I don't think he's this massive KO puncher, but I think he punches. I think he can knock. He has knockout power, but I think every shot is solid because his technique's good. It's rigid. He don't quite turn that front foot in like Hearns used to, but he makes that front foot solid. So when he throws that jab, it's a real ramrod sort of left hand.
And we spoke about this in the past. He doesn't have a tell for it either, which when you're as big as he is, it was one of the most difficult things.
It was mine anyway.
I think kind of the thing that I was going to mention there is we've not really seen the same Hamza Sheeraz. Was going back to just check the opponent's name, Francisco Torres, who's where he kind of stepped in behind the jab and ended up walking into a right hand. He seems to have, just refined it a little bit. You
come to me, innit? Yeah. I'm the big guy here. I can just jab you for 12 rounds, and he knows that. I think he would if they're not going to be play the game with him. Then he will. I think he will walk you down. But he doesn't, at the minute, they all think when you box a big tall guy, you think I got to get in. Obviously, you got to get in, haven't you? So and Denny hasn't got the. It's hard for him, and he hasn't got the power either. To Josh Warrington, but so he's knocking people out. But I don't think he hasn't shown he hasn't got the power to really, make you think. I think he punches hard enough, Tyler Denny, to give it for respect. I'm a massive Tyler Denny fan. The also with him is that he's not a surprise anymore. He can't surprise you anymore. The secret's out with Tyler Denny, and for him, the secret's out. I think before, I think the beauty of him, he's just gone, the next step. I'm loving this. There's no pressure on him. He's the underdog now, and that'll help him. But I wonder if there is a pressure now, because he's European champion. So he has that respect now. Whether he can't say, I'm just going to keep. I'm not saying he said this, but he can play off that. I'll just keep going, until I just. That's what we all thought with him, didn't we? How far is he going to go? I mean, I get that, because when you're not a big, when you lack punch, especially at middleweight, when you lack a KO record, you just think, how long can they keep going on for?
He's had to do it the hard way.
Mate, he deserves everything he gets, and and if you can beat Sheeraz, then you know, this is his hardest fight to date.
Yeah.
And the unbelievable feat that is, because this is a real, stylistically, not just on record, stylistically, it's a really hard matchup for him. But I got no favourites in the fight, and Sheeraz is a really good advert for boxing, by the way. Real respectful young man, dresses right, says the right things, doesn't act like an idiot to sell tickets. He just says everything right. He's a really good advert for the sport. But there's some magic about the people like Tyler Denny. You just want to see him do well, don't you? So yeah. But ultimately, I don't give a shit. I just want to work.
Okay, the final fight on the card is Mark Chamberlain versus Josh Padley. We've run out of time, so unfortunately we're going to do that. We'll come on to the prediction element of it. Right, so in which case, our predictions this week, before we let everybody go. Andy, we're going to come to you first as the reigning, defending, lineal prediction champion after last week, and we are going to start with the fight that we have just discussed: Tyler Denny versus Hamza Sheeraz.
So I'm going to do my usual and just say who I feel is the favourite. I know it's dull, and I don't know how I get away with it quite, given that you force him to give predictions. But I do make Sheeraz. The favourite against Denny, because he looks like he's got the tools to stop him kind of welding himself to your shoulder and hip, which is basically what he does, isn't it? And if he could get close enough for long enough to do that, then he just sucks the life out of you.
Barry,
I'm commentating on the fight, so I can't.
Oh, don't fucking
yeah, remember that?
Well, we just put all the pressure on Rob.
Yeah. Who do you think? Now, I'm going to go for a Sheeraz stoppage. Now, Denny's shown no real vulnerabilities, I don't think, but I just think that his bravery and willingness to want to win the fight, which he will, and I don't think it'll be all plain sailing for Sheeraz. Trying to back it up a little bit now, but I think he walks onto a shot. I think that that jab will wear him down a little bit, and that uppercut might be the shot that he walks onto and he doesn't see, because he comes in low with his head down, sometimes doesn't always look at the target, and that's a worry that he might walk onto that shot. But if he can, if he can drag Sheeraz into a fight early, like he's done with everyone we didn't after the fight he's done it to, he shouldn't have done it to. So, you know, but I think this is I think it's where the wheels come off, unfortunately. Yeah. So I think Sheeraz stoppage.
Yeah.
Late.
I'm going to go for Hamza Sheeraz by stoppage, somewhere around 8, 9, somewhere around there. I also think Tyler Denny will be crafty and make him work for it. Could potentially see the early rounds not being the most exciting for the layman, but yeah, love Tyler Denny as well. Named my son after Tyler Denny, actually. True story.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was struggling for a name the night before.
So Denny or Tyler?
But it's true, because I named my daughter after Arislandi Lara. So why would you call a girl Arislandi? No, her name's Lara. But yeah, I didn't have a name the night before, so I did what any normal man did. Went to look down the Bet365, shout out Bet365 thing. I started off with golf names, tennis names, got into boxing, and I was like, Hamza Sheeraz.
You could have gone wild with some of those golf names.
I know.
I just want to say this. So you control the names, do you? Is your wife your missus live in fear? You
no.
I
have to edit that out, but no.
Because how can you get all the choices? Like I said,
the best names.
I said to my missus, let's call my boy Lucifer. She went, shut up, that's a girl's name.
Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I'm going to go for Hamza Sheeraz around 8 or 9. I do expect Tyler Denny to be cagey. Barry, I'm going to come to you first, because there's no point going to fucking Andy.
You could say that in so many scenarios.
Anto Cacace versus Josh Warrington.
Yeah, I think Cacace on points. And I think it ends up being a really hard night for Warrington. I think it starts off like a real hard fight for both, but I think as the rounds go on, I just think that Warrington's never shown any failure. He's an engine, all those things like that. But I think it's a competitive fight throughout. But I think he ends up looking a bit bust up and wins and loses. I don't think it's massively wide, but I think I got the favourite Cacace. Yeah.
Andy, who's the favourite?
Well, I think it's difficult to make that calculation, to be honest. I mean, I guess you would have to say Cacace, because he's a super featherweight and he's the champion. But I feel like Warrington has got another big one in him. I wouldn't necessarily say that there is a sleeper on this card, because it's a really good card.
Yeah,
but I think this could be a really, really good fight.
Yeah, that £4 could make a big difference, couldn't it?
Yeah. We just about got Andy to acknowledge that there's a card happening on Saturday, much less give any predictions on it. I'm going to go for Anto Cacace. I'm going to go Cacace by stoppage. Really like both guys. Josh Warrington, great guy, not super featherweight. I think this has a lot of the hallmarks that one would look for in a night that doesn't really end well for somebody. Going up in weight. He's won one of his last 5 fights. Josh Warrington. He's lost 3 of them.
It's true.
2 of them by stoppage. And really, I thought he dominated Lee Wood until Lee Wood landed. And as soon as Lee Wood landed, the fight was kind of over. I think it's a tough ask. I think Anthony Cacace, long levers. I think Warrington, the way Warrington boxes, kind of caught Lee Selby. We did catch Lee Selby on the hop, but caught Lee Wood on the hop a little bit by boxing Lee Wood and not coming forward. I think if he does that, he loses at distance, but I don't expect him to do that. I expect him to try and put the pressure on Cacace, and I think that that Cacace will find the shots in the second half of the fight. I, like you, Barry, think that the second half of the fight could be quite hard for Josh Warrington. Okay, Andy, Josh Kelly versus Ishmael Davis.
Kelly is clearly the favourite in this one because Davis has come in late on, but you often see people come in late on and cause an upset, and if they can't cause the upset, acquit themselves well, and I do expect him to do that because when you kind of see him speak and when you watch him fight, he seems like a resolute kind of character. I don't think he'll be overawed by the occasion, by the week, by anything like that. Slipstreaming into it at such short notice, I think, can help with that if there's a potential for that happening. But I don't think there really is with him. So I think that we will definitely get a performance from him on the night. But I do think we'll get one from Kelly too, because this is what he's been waiting for. He's back on the really big stage where he's always felt, and Adam Booth also has always felt, that he belongs.
I think Kelly, not massively wide, but there's not going to be no dispute who wins this. And I think he's been training for the guy who put tremendous pressure on you with intelligence in Liam Smith. Now he's got a guy here now who's no experience at any level. Or it'd be Troy Williamson, so he's got experience at some level, but he's relatively inexperienced, who's a good fighter, a clever fighter, who'll go on to be a good fighter. He's good now, but I think for me, I think Kelly's going to be so fit because what he was training for, that he'll be able to rattle off the combinations and the change in the direction of his feet is going to be too hard for Davis to close down. Maybe Davis in a couple of years' time's version of Davis might be a different story. I think he's going to be really, really good, and that maybe that version down the line that has been more experienced might be able to just cope with that movement and cut him off. And because he got heavy hands as well, Davis, and spiteful with it. But I just think it's going to be too much too soon for him. So I think Kelly relatively wide on points.
I'm going to go for Kelly close on points, and I think Davis might have some big success in the fight. Kelly's a strange one for me, an interesting one. I mean, in his last 5 or 6 fights, there's only really one recognisable name in there, which is Troy Williamson, who he would have known upside down, inside out from the amateurs. And he obviously boxed very well there. Troy Williamson was sparring Chris Eubank Jr. last week, or whatever, and he's massive. Like, obviously, we knew that he stayed at 54 pounds for a lot longer than he potentially should have. And it's just something about Davis. It's kind of what you've said there about, like, and I completely agree, that slipstream can help if you're not necessarily, not used to the big stage, which he's not. But I don't see him being bothered by the big stage. I don't really see, I mean, obviously you don't know that until the night, and he's not going to know that, but he seems like one of those unflappable characters. And there's a bit about him that I like, but I think, Josh Kelly, close decision, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think a lot of these fights, if not all of them, have upset potential depending on how you kind of see them. But yeah, I'm going to go for Kelly, but not a massively confident pick, I have to say. Right, going to go around. Joshua Buatsi versus Willie Hutchinson. To you first, Barry.
I'm going to be a bit brave. Maybe it's not brave. I think Buatsi stops him late. I think we have to see a better Buatsi than we've seen. I mean, we've said that every fight, haven't I? Every time, it's got to see a better Buatsi this time, better Buatsi this time. But I think we have to see a better Buatsi who got a bit more fire in his belly, a bit more devil. He needs a slap in the corner, Buatsi. We don't watch this. He does though. He needs. No, I think he needs. No, everything's calm. It's lovely calmed him in. He's got inside, not the ring. So respectful, all that crap. Right. But I mean, sometimes you want to go. Just go and get him. That sort of thing. And Hutchinson's going to cause him loads of problems if he's one-paced. I mean, problems enough to beat him, by the way. But I do think that Hutchinson, fights at a high pace, but he will. I know that was his first 12 round, but I think he still, the way he fights, he does have lulls, and the way his style is, he gives you opportunities. And with those opportunities, Buatsi needs to take him. I think he will take him in this fight, and I think he makes a bit of a statement by getting the stoppage. Some
I think with Buatsi, that bit of spite, I've always felt like it is in there. It takes some getting out of him. But I think Hutchinson might be that guy, because they clashed when they met after the press conference. And I think that he might take that into the fight within Buatsi. I think he'll probably claim otherwise. I'll ask him later today. He'll probably dead bat that one and say that it's just another fight. But I wonder, because I think that he needs that. He was never going to have that against Dan Aziz, because they know each other, and he's not been in with anybody really who he's had any particular antipathy with that I can think of. So this might be the first time, and it could be the ingredient that maybe has been just slightly missing up until this point. But Hutchinson, as I say, he's a very confident character, and he believes that he was absolutely made for this and for this kind of stage. But you look at where they've been in their professional careers, and yeah, Buatsi is the favourite.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that you've both said. I think Willie Hutchinson will bring it out of Buatsi, but also I think his style as well. I can't think of too many fights where Joshua Buatsi's been chasing the fight after 3 or 4 rounds, and I think that he might be in this fight. I think Hutchinson might start the fight well.
That's definitely never happened with him.
And Buatsi's going to have to, because if he does, and I think that will see him do enough to get us. I also think he'll get the late stoppage. I think Hutchinson, Buatsi will make him work in those first few rounds, but I do expect Hutchinson to be tricky, full of beans, full of energy after the win over Craig Richards, and force Buatsi to get back into the fight. And I think Buatsi will get to him maybe 10 rounds, maybe 11 rounds, something late on in the fight. And the final one before the main event, we didn't unfortunately have too much time to talk about Turki Al Sheikh's favourite fighter, Mark Chamberlain, versus Josh Padley. Andy?
Oh, Chamberlain's an overwhelming favourite for this one, because Josh Padley's a Central Area champ, which, we all love an area title. That's a good achievement. He is now with Steffi Bull and Jason Cunningham. That's a fairly new thing for him. Jason Cunningham, I think he's been sparring him, southpaw. So that's kind of worked out well for him. And it's a similar kind of scenario to Davis, in that there's no real pressure of expectation on him other than that he puts on himself. But it's kind of strange in a way, because Chamberlain was put in a really good fight against Gav Gwyn, and that was a tricky one to predict. And then since then, he's had 2 in a row now on these Saudi cards where he is an overwhelming favourite. Not many people have had that luxury, have they?
No.
But yeah, there's no other analysis of this other than Chamberlain is a very heavy favourite.
Barry?
Yeah, I agree. I watched Paddy. He's a good little fighter, good boxer, good mover. Likes to come forward a bit. What I've seen of him, and that'll make it. If you're hittable, then you haven't got much chance against Chamberlain. That's the truth. That's the truth of it. Unfortunately, you've got to be quite elusive, haven't you, or have real big power yourself. Try and catch him early. So yeah, it's hard to see anything but a Chamberlain's win and a win by stoppage at that.
Yep, me too. Chamberlain by stoppage early. Maybe 3 rounds, 2 or 3 rounds. Okay, right. The main event, the IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World. Barry, going to come to you first. Daniel Dubois or Anthony Joshua?
I'm going to go Joshua on points.
On points?
I'm going to go Joshua with a stoppage or knockout, whenever it comes, yeah. And in the first 5 rounds, I think. I'm not going to give you a round, because they'll probably go 7 now, won't they?
Just somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think so. I think the first 5 rounds. I think they'll try and start fast, but I don't think it'd be massively like gung ho. But at some point they're gonna have to. And I think, I just think that his movement, if he uses it in and out, just might be the key to making Dubois get over that front foot and give him a target to hit, and win that he can that Dubois doesn't see. As I think. Unless Dubois hits him with that jab early, quick, like I said, I don't want to. That's my prediction.
He's going to talk himself out of his own pick.
But it could be any other way. But that's why I'm going to go with that. Yeah.
Andy.
I think this is quite an interesting one if you're looking to be crushingly dull and analyse the form guide with it, because if you look at that and you look at names on records and all that kind of business, then you would make Joshua an overwhelming favourite. You would look at the spike from Dubois in the last couple of fights and think, well, okay, that's kind of interesting, but overall, yeah, Joshua heavy favourite. But I'm not sure how much that anything that's gone in the past is really that relevant when the bell goes on Saturday, because I do feel that this is a different Dubois who's entered a second phase of his career, and the occasion is still a thing. If he can handle the week, if he can handle the equation, and when that first bell goes, just be, I was going to say clear-headed, although for him it might be better, and I don't mean this as any kind of an insult, if he's almost empty-headed and he's just operating on instinct. If he can be in that state when the bell goes, and that's a pretty big if, because this is a massive week, and I think, as we said earlier, I think as the week progresses, we'll get a sense of just how big it is, and it'll be totally different to any other Saudi week that anybody has had, because there'll just be a lot more public around for events where they're able to attend. If he can achieve that, Dubois, get to the final bell in that state, then I think all bets are off and anything could happen.
Okay. Yeah, I've thought about this fight a lot.
Who are you going for again?
He's just going to be there.
Boxing's going to be the winner.
Boxing's going to be the winner. I thought about this fight a lot recently. Saw quite a bit of Daniel Dubois when he was training at the McGuigan gym. That version of Daniel Dubois, I would pick Anthony Joshua to do a good job on and dominate. The last couple of fights, the last 3 fights, and the move to Don Charles and Kieran Farrell, I think has really worked. And I feel like the dad is now closer to the training, the everyday kind of element to it. We've seen it; he's quite literally almost in the corner. Frank Warren
he was named as a second last time.
Frank Warren literally, I think it was the Miller fight, wasn't it, where he literally grabbed the dad and dragged the dad down.
Daniel, he needs him.
And
there.
all of that stuff of recent months or the last 6 months or whatever, no, the last 12 months since the Usyk fight, because I did think he boxed well there, have all created a much different Daniel Dubois, I think, than the Daniel Dubois that trained under Shane McGuigan and the Daniel Dubois that we've seen previously against Joe Joyce, etc. And conversely, with Anthony Joshua, who I thought won clearly against Jermaine Franklin, but in a quite underwhelming performance. Robert Helenius, of course, was a late replacement after what happened with Dillian White. Wasn't a great performance from Joshua. Admittedly, the finish was kind of what kind of people remember, and rightly so. Then we have the Wallin fight. The Wallin fight, which I think you mentioned earlier. Wallin, I think he'd beaten twice in the amateurs. He's been at Sheffield sparring for Anthony Joshua a number of occasions. We all know that Otto Wallin's kind of claim to fame is he cut Tyson Fury in a fight that he still lost convincingly on the scorecards. And then we had the Ngannou fight, or what the couple of rounds of whatever it was. And when you kind of look back at those, or when I look back at those,
you can make anything you want out of them, can't you? That's the thing.
That is the thing, and there is a version of looking at that to say that Joshua, he was ruthless against Otto Wallin, and he was ruthless against Francis Ngannou, and in of itself, it's kind of that's what you want from him, that mental state. But it was Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou. I'm torn between. I've got a gut feeling Daniel Dubois is going to do it, and I'm gonna put it out there. I'm going to go for Daniel Dubois by knockout. I think Daniel Dubois is rightly an underdog. The way that I've been kind of speaking to people the last few days have asked me about it, so if gun to my head, I would probably go for Joshua, gun to my head, but seeing as there's no gun, then I'm going to go for Dan.
Could we arrange that?
We could do. I'm sure Barry can find one quickly enough. I'm going to go for Daniel Dubois. I've got a feeling that it's going to be a cuffing shot high on the head, and he's going to put him away. And I don't know why.
This is brilliantly specific.
I've had these over the last few years. All the other divisions, I'm hopeless at predicting. But I've had a few good heavyweight ones over the last few years. I had Parker over Wilder, Parker over Zhang. Even smaller, I had Vianello over Makhmudov. I had some good heavyweight picks. I had Usyk over Joshua both times. Usyk over Fury. I just got a feeling he's going to do it. And I think Daniel Dubois punches harder than anybody Joshua's faced. And we've not seen Joshua get hit by somebody who really punches. Yeah. I know everyone to a degree in the division does punch for a while. And unless Joshua significantly dents Dubois in the first 3 rounds, and we've only seen Joshua knock out Ngannou early. It's been before there's Eric Molina. Yeah. The longer Daniel Dubois is in there, the more dangerous he's going to be. And I'm going to ignore the now growing voice in this side of my head that's saying, mate, what are you doing? People are going to see this. I'm going to go for Dubois for the upset. Yeah, I think Dubois catches him and puts him away. There you go. Daniel Dubois by stoppage in the 6th round.
Nice. I like it.
See you later, AJ. But to be fair, I'm going to put this out tomorrow just in case, we never see. But yeah. I'm going to go for Daniel Dubois.
Can happen, can it?
It could definitely happen.
Good fight.
Very good fight. One we're very much looking forward to. But we have come to the end. We're a little bit past the end of today's show. Thanks, as always, to our usual twosome, Mr. Barry Jones and Mr. Andy Clarke, for joining us. Let us know who you think in the comments. Who will win? Will it be Anthony Joshua or will it be the upset, Daniel Dubois, this Saturday at Wembley Stadium? Let us know and we'll catch up with you next week.